Part of spiritual guidance begins with showing up, whatever that means to you. Pay attention, put yourself forward, take a moment, stop what you're doing, maybe stop for a half hour or longer, maybe for a few seconds. Just stop, show up, be present, and see what happens. Excuse me. You don't show up in a vacuum, in an abstraction. You show up to something very real and very present. And when you show up, you will know you are there. You arrived. It's a simple, quiet moment. When you show up for another person and they look at you and you know together you've arrived. When you give someone a touch, a hug, phone call, a thought, showing up has a result. It's a connection. It feels good. It can be built upon. Showing up can go from to it's so remarkable. And it's amazing how in our lives, very few people show up. We don't always know how to do it. Sometimes it's artificial, sometimes it's manufactured. But real showing up comes from a place of care. And when you show up for another human being, when you show up for life itself, the magnitude of connectivity is enormous. You are supported, you are held. I'll say that you're loved, acknowledged. Very, very, very important part of the human experience. Another level or layer of this experience is trust. Because sometimes when you show up, no one is there. Nothing is there. You show up and it's empty. You feel, why did I do that? I feel lost. Life's not giving me what I want or need. And part of you feels discouraged, part of you feels alienated, part of you can react in a way that ends your relationship with showing up. But the word trust is really important. And I put it higher than the word hope, because trust is a belief that it's okay. It's going to be okay, that there is something holding you, something caring about you, something that is showing up for you in your life, even if you don't feel it at any given moment. So trusting and trusting the journey of life is one of the great gifts of a spiritual journey, because you don't always know cognitively that it's working. You don't always know that you're heading in the right direction. You don't always know that you're being served what you think you need to be served. But trust helps a lot. Show up and trust. Because there starts to be a knowing inside yourself that says, this is right. You start to feel touched, acknowledged, if you will, embraced, if you will, and you feel that showing up is acknowledged by a reception, a greeting. Sometimes it's very soft and very gentle and inexpressible, but you're greeted by the showing up. Sometimes you show up and nobody's there. The word trust will help. Either trust it will come or trust that its absence is meaningful. Trust that there are times where the journey is hard, where there is suffering and confusion and things aren't working the way you want. You've shown up and nobody's there. Then what? Trust. Because trust will get you through in a way that is inexpressible. It just makes it possible to get from moment to moment to moment. And that really is the human journey, not from just birth to death. It's really from this moment to the one that unfolds right after it, and the one that comes right after it. Sometimes it's dramatic. Sometimes it's very gentle and very little is happening at all. It's just this incredible, sweet flow. And then there are moments of disruption, big disruption, and you have to find your way back to showing up and trust. In a way, your spiritual life is that. Showing up is bringing yourself to the table, bringing yourself to sitting still and going, I'm here. Bringing yourself to this class or a class, bringing yourself to your meditative life, to your moment of sitting still by yourself and going, what am I doing here? Why am I here? And then suddenly this softness comes, this simpleness comes. And if nothing comes, you go through the practice of going, please help me. Please help me to, in Rudy's words, surrender, accept, allow. And you may have to surrender to nothingness, emptiness, quietude. But the act of surrender is remarkable. Now, if you're doing it transactionally, that you're only doing it to get something, that can be problematic. But if you're getting it to serve, in order to show up, to serve, not to get, to let the universe use you well, to be a present tense phenomenon of giving and caring for others, often something arrives that is beyond you and not really just for you. It's for itself and it's for the self, for the greater self. And if you can bring yourself to the table, if you can show up and trust, my experience, forgive me, I have to relate just to me, but my experience is this thing comes forward in a remarkable way. Part of it is expressed in the teaching of this class because you have no idea how what it's like to be a Bruce character sitting down in front of all of you, and thinking this is going to work. This is going to be somehow servicing you. But all I have done is shown up, and the miracle. And trust me, if you woke up in my bedroom this morning after my night's sleep last night, there was no way this was going to be of any value to anybody. But, but I showed up, and boy, you showed up, and this thing happened. It just happened. And it happened because all of us showed up, and also because I trust the phenomenon of showing up. I trust what it means to make myself available to you, to others, and to the source of all being that wants us to be present for, I'm going to say, its sake. We're here for it, whatever you want to call it. There are millions of names for it, but it has a capital I. And boy, oh boy, is it amazing in every possible level. And boy, does it serve us, and boy, does it serve everyone around us. So we're living in a complicated time, and showing up may be not high on your list of things to do. Showing up may be a secondary thing. It may be, okay, on occasion I'll show up. But right now, in the space we're in, showing up is more important than ever. Being present is really important. And it's not just being present, it's really being there. It's arriving. And I had a few interesting stories with Rudy that might talk to this. I don't know if they will, but I once went to you may have heard this, to a protest march. Dean Rusk was at the Hilton Hotel in New York on 6th Avenue, and there was a whole bunch of people protesting him for whatever political reason in Vietnam, I think. And I was part of that march, and I decided to try to turn over a police car. So a whole group of us are trying to turn over a police car, and we're getting motion. It's rocking, you know. And then I'd say about 20 policemen on horseback come roaring in with clubs, and they go and they start smashing down at us. And I just narrowly missed losing my hand. That they dented the police car, but my hand was still okay. And I remember telling Rudy about it kind of proudly, that I had stood up in this mass protest against the evils of the world, if you will. And he said, "Don't do that again. Don't do that." He was very critical of my putting myself into that space. Now, I know this is a time where there's going to be a lot of protests going on all over the place, and I'm not trying to give you a directive of don't do or whatever, but I'm just trying to tell you that was a different kind of showing up. That was showing up for an expression of annoyance, anger, hatred, judgment, or whatever, if you will. Showing up to the higher being is different. Showing up is a present tense offering of yourself to something greater, bringing yourself to the table. It's not showing up at a march. It's not going on a protest. I went on a protest once with Blanche. I remember I've talked about it, I think, and big march in Los Angeles, and it was kind of supporting love and kindness in the world. But I've never seen more anger in my life. I was not in a group of loving people. I was in a group of angry people, and protests are often full of anger. If you want to give yourself over to that, that's your call. But understand what you're doing. The other thing that happened though was Pir Vilayat Khan, a great teacher. Rudy had offered him an opportunity to teach at his classroom. And Pir Vilayat Khan had attracted some people at the back of the room, a group of black protesters who felt that he was misusing the religion that he taught, and were very critical, or were there very in a very menacing way. And the class had been open to a lot of people. And as we were finishing his talk, which was a beautiful talk, really lovely, and walking back to the staircase to go up to Rudy's living room, this group of protesters gathered in the stairwell, and they did not want to make room for us to go upstairs. And Rudy had asked me and a group of others to form a phalanx around Pierre so he could get up the stairs safely. And there was a moment in the hallway where it looked like this could be a moment of great brutality and perhaps an assassination. It was very, very scary. And I decided to meditate, to reach up as high as I could for guidance and help as we were standing there thinking that we might all be killed in that moment. And I had never been there before. And so I'm reaching into this meditative space, and all of a sudden I hear Rudy yell. And I think he yelled, "Bruce," or "Schmuck," which is often the way he would address me. What the hell do you think you're doing? You're meditating at a moment like this? This is not a moment to meditate. Your life is at hand. The Pirulai Khan's life is at hand. This is not a time for you to be up there in the ether. This is a time for you to be here and to be now and to be present. And his outburst was so stunning to the guys who were surrounding us. They didn't know what to do. And suddenly they opened the front door and they walked out. They left. And we ushered Pir Vilayat Khan upstairs into the classroom, and life went on as normal. But I was completely shaken, completely shaken. And also, a great message had gone through to me, which was there's a time to meditate, there's a time to show up. And that show up at that moment was not a meditative act. It was be present in that moment because something needed to be addressed. So showing up has a lot of implication, and it stayed with me for my whole life. There are times where you put yourself forward, but showing up is to the moment because the moment is real. And you're being present in that moment brings an energy to it that can break things apart, alter currents and situations, and really provide for, in this case, a safe journey. So I say this to you because I think it's important to understand that showing up in this lifetime for a spiritual practice is showing up to the moment you're in, not a moment you're projecting that you should go to or be part of, but to the moment you have arrived at and being deeply present and trusting it because it has something to teach you. And Rudy taught me so deeply in so many circumstances about how to be alive and how to be present and how to show up to the moment that is unfolding. And that is a gift. If you can show up to the moment that is in front of you, if you can recognize it as yours, you will find that there is how to describe it, a moment of touch, a moment of acknowledgement, a moment of assurance, a moment of knowing this is right that will guide and alter and direct your life. It's so important. And that's why a class like this is important because, you know, you can do this once a week. I would recommend do it every day, and I would recommend doing it all day long. But at least coming to a class, sitting down, listening to a talk, and having the moment and having it open you up again to the what is of life, and then to help you find your way into trusting it, even if you don't understand it, if you don't get why it's happening like this, it allows you to be there in a way that is vibrant and alive and spiritually essential to our well being and the well being of those around us. So, if you're going to take anything away from today, it's show up and trust. Show up and trust and live your life accordingly. And if you can use show up as sit still, meditate, go deep, reach up high, be present with another human being, however it works for you, it will endow your life with meaning and value and purpose. I could say joy and all these other qualities that are so positive, but it will also mean show up if things go wrong. I last week, 2 weeks ago, I fell for the first time since I was a little kid. I've had my first senior fall, and it hurt, and it was scary. And I went, yikes. And then the pain, as you know, those of you who are older, doesn't just go away. It lingers and does all these things. And, you can go, why me? And you can go, but, I'm a spiritual person. And why is this happening? And the response to me every day is show up, be present with the what is, know that this is part of what is a real process in life, a process of endless transformation. And it's not just getting good notes and happy moments, it's getting all sorts of things that are going to happen to you. And all you can do is go, okay. And I find that there's a lesson happening to me all day and all night now with these various discomforts, but they do bring me to present tense in an amazing way. And I'm not trying to deny them. I'm trying to show up for what the universe is teaching me at this moment. And trust me, the journey that we are on is going to get tougher and tougher, personally, biologically, metaphysically, and also, politically and environmentally. It's going to get tough. Show up and trust it. Trust it, even when it's hard, even when you think it's punishing, even when you think this is not, the way it should be. You're wrong. This is the way it is. And show up. Just show up. Okay. Uh, Tom, I know you had a question before. Is that still in present tense? You're shaking your head. Uh,
Thank you, Bruce, for everything. And I'm not sure I want to ask it at the
I, I
moment.
can't, I can't hear you too well.
I'm going to hold off on asking it at the moment.
Oh, Okay. Does anybody else have a?
Thank you.
You're welcome. You can raise your hand or just speak out.
I just want to thank you for that talk, Bruce. That was very on point. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Of course, I can't see everybody, but whoever said that, thank you. Evgeny, I saw your hand go up.
Oh, thanks. Bruce, is like this kind of like the presence and showing up for the moment you're talking about, do you consider it like it's kind of like a rare quality in like living people around us? And are you saying it's sort of like just doing even that is spiritual in essence in this action? I don't know. Do you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
everybody, y'all breaking up a little bit, but let me just say, you know, we all have a definition of a spiritual life or spiritual practice, and every teacher gives you another version of it, and they're all good, I think, in their own way. Um, the show up idea and the trust idea are just adjuncts to whatever practice you may have or whatever you may think of as a spiritual life, and it maybe even precede the idea of sit down and do your whole practice and work with the chakras and do all that kind of stuff. If you have a day to day life where you cannot sit unless you're a monk all day long and practice, showing up to the moment, trusting the moment is really a great practice and teaching for the 99% of the time of the day that you're not sitting in meditation and trying to go transcend or deepen your practice. So yes, it's a kind of a way of doing your practice all day long. Now, I mean, I often talk about things like the Dalai Lama's teaching of be kind. I'd say that as a muscular teaching is amazing. Showing up is arriving at a terrible situation where you're angry at somebody with reason, perhaps, and instead of being angry, you turn it around. Your reactivity is transformed into kindness. That's really showing up. That's showing up and then manifesting an action that turns that moment into something that is of a higher nature, if you will, a more liberating thing. To not respond to the world with your reaction of anger and hostility and judgment and drama, but just going, this muscle, and you go, okay, thank you. Yes, I get it. I understand. That kind of reaction changes life every day. And if you can do that, that's a great spiritual practice, whether you meditate or don't meditate. Just do that. And I think we all have to put that into practice. And if ever there was a time, like we're all, I think, living in the worst movie ever, all of us are, just like, oh my God, what is all this? You have to find a way to respond to that has kindness and love and joy. It may not be for the environment and what's going on in the political drama of our lives, but for the very few things that really happen to us, if you can show up and transform them into kindness or non-reactivity, if in fact you're about to blow up and do something terrible, if you can turn yourself into a person who has something to offer life, to show up for life, that's a great thing to accomplish in this lifetime. And so many of us are just reactive in negative ways. We hear the news and go, oh my God, that noisy thing that goes on in our heads. That is not the best approach to life. The better approach is to show up to that noise and go, my old word, nope, nope, not going there. Show up and then you can go, don't want that. And that really changes how you live, how your day goes, and it's amazing. And,
And when you say, Bruce, when you say nope, you mean just like not going the usual
exactly.
route, whether it's
Yeah,
anger or
right,
reaction, just
right.
no.
Yep, you have power to go no to that, to turn off an email, to go delete. You can do just like that before you read it. I don't have to go into that space. You have the power. The more and more you exercise that power and you show up to that moment, you gain a great deal of inner power, if you will, and you serve something or can serve something much greater than yourself by being in a loving, kind state rather than an angry, hostile state. You serve the world, I think, better than you would by standing and trying to turn over a police car, which may not be the best approach to dealing with what's there. I mean, for some people that may be the answer, but I don't think the world works best that way at this point. So I think we need to find a way to do what's in front of us, show up, and trust, and see what happens. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you guys for coming, as always. You have shown up, and I will tell you, based on my personal experience, the universe, or whatever you want to call it, has shown up for you as a result. Every one of you has been touched by a grace that I am the lucky one to feel first, maybe, and I can send it through the atmosphere or through the environment, but it touches you, and every one of you gets to go into the rest of this Sunday afternoon with the universe having graced you for whatever reason and for whatever it means you will bring to the world today. Enjoy it, bring the grace, bring your love, show up, and trust.